The real truth about my life and my sexuality is that
I'm back, it's your boy FITTI to the E, and today we're gonna be taking a look at these TikTok videos. If you guys like the chain, check the link down in the description. And the scariest part about this video is that 70% of you guys are not subscribed, man. What are you guys doing? Make sure to subscribe so you can stick around for the journey. The like goal for this video is again 1,000 likes, and watch till the end because this video gets insane.
This is everything that happened on the news today, but it's going to be simplified in 60 seconds. Bacteria has mutated on the International Space Station. It is something we've never seen before on Earth. So they're saying that this bacteria is called Enterobacter bugendicis. They're saying that whenever they discovered this virus, they only found 5 different strains of it, but with further investigation, there are now 8 more. So I'll keep you tuned. Saudi Arabia's mega city that's called Neom is now using 20% of all the steel production on the planet, which is crazy. They're telling everybody that this $1.5 trillion project is not expected to be completed until at least 2045, so we have a long ways to go. And for anybody that hasn't heard about this yet, it's basically just this futuristic city that's supposed to fuel itself, where if you live there, you don't need to leave. So that's hopeful. This is dragging up a bunch of controversy online, but this airport is now introducing this new policy that puts a time limit on hugs. This airport is located in New Zealand, but they're saying that they're putting this in place to hopefully get less people out of the boarding area, but a lot of people are upset about it. There's a 3-minute time limit on a hug. I give you these news roundups every day, so make sure you add me and come back to me tomorrow.
Yo, that airport is like, yo, y'all need to start moving, bro. But at the same time, some of these people probably haven't seen their family in like years, years.
the real truth about my life and my sexuality is that, man, I'm just figuring it out like everyone, and I don't really know sometimes, and I know other times. And it feels really scary because we live in a society that just has.
To be honest, I don't really care.
If you ever want to summon a demon, play this game. The game is called the Closet Game. To start the game, take a box of matches and go to your bedroom. Then turn off all the lights and make sure you're in complete darkness. After that, open your closet door and step inside and shut the door. Then stand in the darkness for approximately 2 minutes, facing the door. Then take one match out of the box and hold it in front of you and say, "Show me light or leave me in darkness." Now listen very carefully. If you begin hearing faint whispering, light the match immediately. But if you don't hear anything and the match does not ignite on its own, then turn around. If you don't light the match fast enough after hearing the faint whispering, you will then feel something grab you from behind, and you will then be dragged into eternal darkness by the demon. And whatever you do not stop playing the game once you begin.
Facts that you probably didn't know that one day could save your life. Part 14. Ticks are way deadlier than people say they are. Lyme disease can quite literally stop your heart. If you get bitten, take it off immediately and go see a doctor. If you hear a baby crying outside, keep your door shut and dial 911. It's a trap. Drowning doesn't look like drowning. When someone is drowning, they rarely cry out, can't wave their arms around, and will often just bob in and out of the water while gasping for air. If you're trying to see if a mirror is two-sided, put your nail against the glass. If there's no gap between your nail and the reflection, run. If someone is stumbling around and sounds drunk but hasn't had any alcohol, ask them to smile. If one side of their face is drooping, get them to the hospital, they're having a stroke. There's a monument in Georgia that functions as a calendar, clock, and a compass. It also has instructions on it in different languages on how to rebuild society after an apocalypse.
Here are facts you didn't know that one day could save your life. If you're ever buried in rubble, yelling will only waste your energy. Look for something to grab and tap in intervals of 3, and rescuers will notice this strange pattern. If a tornado looks like it's standing still, this means it's actually moving towards you. If your drink randomly smells like cinnamon, don't drink it. People often use it to cover up the scent of actual poison. If your house ever smells like fish for no reason, 9 times out of 10, it's because there's an electrical fire. If you ever wake up to the smell of gas, don't turn on a light. A spark from the light switch could blow up your entire house. Lying flat on your back is the best way to survive a falling elevator. If your hair suddenly stands up, duck and cover because you're about to be struck by lightning. If you ever fall off the edge onto the tracks, don't try and crawl back up. There's a crawl space built to go underneath in case this happens. If you ever get kidnapped into the back of a vehicle, disconnect the brake light wire so the cops will pull them over, then kick on the door to let them know that you're there.
That brake light method is actually a literal lifesaver. So if you guys ever is, for some reason, hopefully, God forbid, in the back of someone's trunk, just take out the lights, no brakes, cops pull them over, just start like, yo, help! He just starts driving off though as soon as you do that. Oh my God. I'd be terrified. Now you're in a high-speed chase, and what if he crashes? It's over.
The creepiest places in the world.
Lake Natron, Tanzania.
Due to high levels of salt contents, everything that touches the lake turns to pure stone.
Hello, my friend. That is not accurate. Lake Natron is a mineral-rich lake in Tanzania. Despite its high pH levels, it has some animals that live in it, including the Alcalepia fish. The misconception that it turns anything that touches it to stone comes from these photographs. Basically, animals pass away for whatever reason, fall into the water and become like mummified. A photographer found such animals at Lake Natron, but placed them in a position so they'd look like they're alive for the sake of the photo, which led to some awesome results. Also, this lake is actually where flamingos go to mate. If you're there at the right time, you will see millions.
Phone numbers you should never call, part 15. This is the first phone number. This phone number was a human experiment during the World War II. They designed specific sentences to test how sound affected people in negative ways. So when you call this number, you will hear those sentences, which sound like a disturbing poem, recited by both male and female voices. This is the next phone number. If you call this phone number after midnight, you will be granted a wish. Once they pick up the phone, you just have to whisper your wish, but there will be a price. And the price is that you will be killed after some time. This is the next phone number. These type of numbers are extremely popular in Japan, and they allow you to talk with your doppelganger, and it is said that it can be a death curse. This is the next phone number. This is Murray's phone number from Stranger Things. When you call this number, you will first hear Murray yelling about his mother, then he'll talk to Joyce and finally leave a disturbing message to you. This is the last phone number. This is the SCP number. When you call it, a voicemail will inform you that you have reached the SCP Foundation, and it will instruct you to leave the date, time, location, and a description of any incidents that you may have witnessed.
Unsolved mysteries that will make your skin crawl. In early August 1963, 4-year-old Bobby Pankin and his family went on a hike in Washington State. There was a trail that led down to a waterfall that Bobby's mom wanted him and his brothers to see. And so, she set off down the trail with her 3 boys, and their father stayed behind. As they headed down the trail, it became apparent that not many people ever went down this path. The forest was super dense and it was hard to see where to go. But once they found the waterfall, 4-year-old Bobby didn't really want to go down the hill to see it. And so his mother told their middle brother to stay behind with him. Bobby's brother didn't really want to babysit him while his mom and their older brother were down exploring the waterfall. And so after a couple of minutes, he decided to leave Bobby behind and go explore. Their mother was mad, and when they went back up the trail to find Bobby, he was gone. They searched and yelled out his name, but there wasn't any reply. Police conducted a 7-day search for Bobby and they couldn't find anything. Nothing, not even blood, was left behind. And after almost 60 years, the mystery has never been solved. What do you think happened?
Crazy things happening in the world right now. This 6-year-old from the UK had her passport denied because she had the same name as a Game of Thrones character. An American Airlines flight made an emergency landing after some passengers noticed lice in another passenger's hair. A driver plowed into this woman's yard and then offered her $50,000 to not call the police. This Olympian's gold medal that he received in Paris this summer is already deteriorating. Disneyland offered a $69 ticket for their 69th anniversary this year to Anaheim residents only. A snake bit this man, so he decided to bite the snake back twice. The snake died and the man lived. Drugs were found disguised as Taco Bell burritos during a routine traffic stop in Tennessee. Microplastics were found in every human semen sample that was tested in a recent study. A recent investigation found that between January 2020 and October 2020, 1/3 of all misinformation posted on X was generated by 10 users from the US and UK.
Yo, microplastics are literally in everything now. It's actually scary. I think it's just because we just drink a lot of water from plastic bottles that slowly leak into our water. Hopefully it doesn't have too bad of health consequences.
There might not be any animal alive with more aura than a black Air Force bull cut weasel. This is Stoffel the honey badger, one of the biggest menaces to walk the earth. You see, Stoffel had a problem. Shout out to Zevi. All Senegal, we moving on up? Stoffel lived in the Mahala Hala Wildlife Center in South Africa. But the African bush ferret was like IBS. You can't stop him, you can only pray to contain him. Stoffel was a four-legged force of nature that escaped every single time. But there's a twist, remind me to tell you. Stoffel would often get out, break into the kitchen, and the same biracial badger that could 3v1 lions would chase kitchen staff around and then help himself to free food. Speaking of lions, one day Stoffel got into the lion den and nearly got mauled into an early life retirement, costing him 2 months in the hospital. First thing the monochrome crash out did when he got better was immediately try to get it back in blood. At one point, Stoffel ran a fade with a tawny eagle. That's a tawny eagle. And won. No foul. Stoffel climbed a tree and got out, so they removed all the trees next to walls. He broke off a branch, dragged it to a wall, and climbed out again, so they got rid of the trees. Stoffel stacked rocks high enough and Andy Dufresne his way out, so out went the rocks. So then Stoffel made mud balls, rolled them to the wall, and emancipated himself again. At some point, someone left a rake. Guess what the felony ferret did? At one point, they tried giving Stoffel a girlfriend named Hammy, and he proceeded to use her as a footstool to unlock his gate, so Bonnie done met her Clyde. One time, he broke into his keeper's house at night through a window. He didn't hurt anybody, but sometimes you gotta pop out and show ninjas. You remember that twist I promised? It was all a game. He had no intentions of ever leaving. He was hand-raised by humans as a baby and imprinted on people. He wasn't going nowhere. Yet this dusty Oreo otter was memeing the entire time, and I checked. He's still alive. He's pushing 26 and lost most of his teeth, but at least he has Hammy to chew it for him. Yeah, Stoffel got it.
Did you know? The most advanced Tesla phone product of this century, owned by Elon Musk, branded Pi, is due to be launched in late 2024. The Pi phone has 3 outstanding features that other smartphones don't have. No need to charge the battery, as it uses solar power. It only needs light to charge automatically. No need to expose it to sunlight. No internet capability is needed, because Pi connects directly to Elon Musk's Starlink, which has a global coverage network. Thanks to Dr. Nicholas Koukoulis, the patent holder of Pi, and one of the CEOs of a company owned by one of the richest people in the world. Does it sound too good to be true? It will cost only $100. Now that's cheap. If you like this video, hit the like button and let me know what you think.
I don't think people would abandon their iPhone or their Samsung for that. I personally don't think it's going to be that successful.
What angels actually look like.
This is what angels actually look like, part 2. Today we're talking about the cherubim, aka the Chimera angel. And by the way, this is not a cherubim. The cherubim have 4 faces. The face of a human, the face of an ox, the face of a lion, and the face of an eagle. They have the body of a lion, the feet of an ox, and their 4 wings are covered in eyes. And when they fly, they emit balls of lightning and fire, which is convenient because they're essentially heaven's bodyguards. When Adam and Eve were kicked out of the Garden of Eden, God placed a cherubim with a rotating fire sword at the garden's entrance, just in case Adam wanted the smoke, and they literally guard the throne of God. By the way, the reason why we think this is a cherubim today is because the Catholic Church didn't want to scare people away from Christianity during Renaissance Italy.
Here's what to do if you drop your phone in the toilet. First, get your phone out as soon as possible and dry the outside with something like a towel. Then power off your phone completely so you avoid short-circuiting it. Now, if you have an iPhone, take out the SD card on the side, but if you have a phone that lets you remove the battery, do that to allow more airflow so it could dry better. If you can, use a vacuum to suck out the water, but if not, tilt your phone side to side to allow the water to drop out. You may be thinking, Luke, what about putting it in rice? Well, studies showed that the best and quickest way to dry your phone is to let it air dry with good air circulation.
Nowadays, most phones are actually water resistant, so I don't think that's really a problem anymore.
This man went to hell for 23 minutes. Listen to how he describes the demons he saw in hell.
I was standing beneath this tunnel, like cavern walls that were sending upward. And all along the cavern walls were demons. Some were only 2 and 3 feet tall. Some were 12 and 13 feet tall. But every one of them were twisted and deformed and grotesque. The most hideous looking creatures. And I noticed there were snakes crawling all over everything. And then I looked and I was standing on a bed of maggots, just solid maggots crawling all over everything and everybody. But remember, Jesus said, where their worm dies not and the fire is not quenched. And he used the word maggot. And Isaiah 14:11 says, where the maggot will be spread under thee and the worm will cover thee.
This is no joke. Hell is a real place. Repent of your sins today and turn to Jesus so you never go there.
Once again, when you talk about aura, you better speak on this bear. This is the boss. That's his name, no relation. He's a 700-pound walking boulder of a bear and an anime plot device in a grizzly's body. The boss has been recorded catching, murking, and eating multiple black bears. In fact, one of the first times he was ever seen was next to an expired bear, and officials had to close down the trail until the boss was done eating it. At one point, the boss hit a train and was tragically put down. The train, I mean. Oh, you didn't hear me. I said the bear hit the train. Boss ate that like it was nothing. He even shows up to the same tracks just to eat the animals that weren't strong enough to survive what he walked off. As mentioned, Boss was roughly the size of 2 prime shacks. As a whole plus-size predator, he was and is the biggest bear in the area, and it's believed he fathered more than 70% of all the bears in the area code. Mind you, he's believed to be up to 27 years old. Hey, twins, when the average male grizzly bear lives to 25. Which means Father Time getting jumped. This bear on a LeBron type of run. And you know a bear that survived a literal train barely second guesses cars, and the boss regularly crosses high-speed highways. It's anime plot armor with predatory hardware. The boss even has his own antagonist. That would be this guy, Split Lip. They've been running fades for years and they've been in the same area for 15, so this beef may have marinated for over a decade. But I don't think Boss has taken an L yet. Boss from Banff better put some respect on the OG. Original Grizzly.
Places you should never swim. Part 1. Firstly, the boiling lake of Dominica. What makes it so dangerous is the boiling magma under the surface. It's so hot that swimming in it would burn all the skin off your body. Jacob's Well is a lake located in Texas. It's so clear that you can see right to the bottom, but if you ever swam down here, you wouldn't make it out alive. The lake is filled with hidden caves, so finding a way out would be nearly impossible. Finally, the Nile River. It's filled with crocodiles everywhere that could kill you. And if you somehow escape the crocodiles, you'll have to get through snakes. And as you try to get out, you'll run into at least 15 venomous...
There is a huge difference between angels in Islam and Christianity. And that difference is free will. You see, Islam and Christianity are both considered Abrahamic religions. They do share a lot in common. And so both religions speak of angels. Angels in Islam were created from light with the sole purpose of obeying God. In fact, they are incapable of committing sins as they have no free will. In Christianity, angels are capable of sinning. In fact, many that have disobeyed the will of God have been banished from the heavens and are referred to as fallen angels. Which brings us to another very big difference. The devil in Christianity is understood to be a fallen angel. He's referred to as Lucifer. Now, but in Islam, the devil or shaitan is actually a jinn. And I'll discuss what a jinn is very soon.
Creepy last words people said right before dying. A nursing assistant said that she was in a long-term patient's room changing the sheets. The patient would periodically look behind her. She asked the patient what was wrong, and the patient looked in her eyes and asked, "He doesn't scare you?" The nurse was confused, and she asked her who she was referring to, and the patient said, "The big man in the top hat. He's standing right behind you." She said that she doesn't think that she has ever finished changing a bed sheet and repositioning a patient as fast as she did that night. She refused to go into that room by herself for the rest of her shift. Linda Johnson, a former nurse, said that she had a gentleman in his late 90s who was dying. He started screaming blood-curdling screams, so they raced to his room. He was screaming that the room was on fire and that there was a man with large horns peering out of the flames. He kept pointing to one wall, saying that it was on fire. The nurses turned on the lights and tried to calm and console him, but to no avail. Instead of being consoled, Linda said that he told her that she was on fire and that he could see her being consumed by flames. Linda said that it was the creepiest thing that has ever happened to her. The doctor was notified, but nothing relieved the patient's terrifying hallucinations. He died soon after. Cynthia said that several years ago, her 20-year-old daughter had brain surgery. She got an infection of the spinal fluid. She was there in grave condition for a month. Cynthia never left her daughter's side. One night, the worst night at this point, she asked who the man in black was that was standing by the bathroom, and why Cynthia's deceased brother, the girl's uncle, was standing next to her at the side of the bed. Cynthia immediately got the chills. She told her daughter, "They're not here." Then she told her brother and the man in the black, whom she couldn't see, "You both have to go now. She's not ready to go, and I'm not ready to let her go." After that night, her daughter started to get better and better each day. Today, her daughter is doing well.
Hey, Sweet Pea, did you know if you count the number of chirps a cricket makes in 15 seconds and then add 40, you get the temperature of the environment in degrees Fahrenheit, which is really interesting. Also, we genetically modified a few goats to produce spider silk in their milk. So if you skim the top of the milk, it's covered in spider silk, which is actually really useful because spider silk is one of the strongest materials that we have access to, at least under tension. It's not like good under compression or anything like that, but it's stronger than Kevlar under tension. If you were an insect, I think that you'd have a lot more respect for how truly terrifying some insects are, like dragonflies or ladybugs, or especially praying mantises. But I think ladybugs in particular have like this, oh, cutesy little image by like us humans, but like they're like alpha predators. They kill like thousands of bugs in a single lifetime, you know? And dragonflies would especially be terrifying, especially dragonfly nymphs, which is a weird way to think of things, but the dragonfly nymphs are way more deadly than adult dragonflies. They just happen to be really small and only live in the water, and because we're big and not an aquatic insect, we don't really recognize them as the terrifying predators they are. But I think they deserve more respect. Praying mantises too, although I think praying mantises do already kind of get more respect as like the vicious predators they are, but I just think they're also cool, you know?
Honestly, he's not lying. If we were small enough to be insects, I feel like the earth would be like a real life Elden Ring. Like if you guys ever played Elden Ring, it's like this game where there's a bunch of monsters and stuff. I feel like humans would be like the ants, then all those other creatures would be like monsters, like mostly spiders. You know how crazy spiders would be if we were just smaller and spiders were the same size as us? Hell no.
Her arms were cut off and somehow she was still able to escape and survive. This is Mary Vincent. She was born in 1963 and was living in Las Vegas, Nevada. Mary's parents were going through a very messy divorce, and she decided that she wanted to hitchhike to her grandfather's home in Berkeley, California. Once Mary was in Berkeley with her grandfather, she started to become homesick and decided that she was going to hitchhike back. Eventually, she came across Lawrence Singleton and he offered her a ride. Mary accepted the ride from Lawrence because he seemed like a sweet old man, but once he started going the wrong way, she grew suspicious of him. Mary starts to have this gut feeling that something is wrong, and she's trying to think of ways that she can escape from Lawrence when he knocks her unconscious with a sledgehammer. Once Mary had regained consciousness, Lawrence had tied her up and SA'd her. Mary is now pleading with Vincent to please let her go, and she will not say anything, and he replies to her saying, "You want to be set free? Don't worry, I'll set you free," and he chops off both of her arms. He then throws her down a cliff, stuffs her in a cement cylinder, drives off, and leaves her for dead. Somehow Mary was able to survive the fall and climb back up the cliff despite her injuries. Since Mary was bleeding out, she was able to dip the stumps of her forearms in mud and held them up to slow down the bleeding. Mary was walking along Interstate 5 for about 3 miles until she was able to get the attention of a couple who was able to get her medical help. As soon as Mary was in the hospital, she immediately worked with police to help identify and find her attacker, and she even postponed her sleep to make a sketch of what her attacker looked like. Once Lawrence was arrested, Mary testified in court, and he even told her in front of everybody that once he was out of prison, he was going to finish her. Lawrence was sentenced to 14 years in prison, and after 8 years, he was free. Since Lawrence was out in the world again, he did not learn his lesson. He attacked a mother of 3 and then took her life. Mary ended up testifying against him once again, and he was sentenced to death, but before he could be executed, he ended up dying on death row from cancer.
This will blow your mind. In a world's first, researchers at Osmo Labs have achieved the teleportation of smell. Do you realize how crazy that is? Let me put it this way. So, as of right now, humans have only figured out how to teleport 2 of our senses. Sound, with the telephone or speakers, and images with the screens that we look at all day. And we've done that because we've discovered a way to capture those senses digitally and then turn them into data that we can then send instantly. But now they have managed to do that with smell. So hypothetically, once they're able to replicate this process on machines outside of the lab, not only one day could you send someone a smell like you send them an image or a voice note. Oh my lord, the businesses that are gonna come out of that one, I'll let the comments handle that. But also, and here's the craziest part, they say that by digitizing scent, they've effectively given computers a new sense. You better wake up in 2030 and your iPhone's gonna tell you stink. Go get a shower. Now, the first smell they ever digitized was fresh plum. They captured the scent molecules in a digital format and then reprinted the exact same smell on the other side of the room, which came out looking like a regular clear liquid. And I guess that begs the question, what's gonna happen to all of these expensive colognes once you can immediately reproduce them? Osmo Labs CEO on Twitter said, "Holy moly, I am still processing the magnitude of what we've done."
I feel like that could be good or bad though. Like that could go one of two ways. It could be like someone either just always sending you horrible smells, or someone always sending you horrible smells.
Parents, y'all gotta keep your kids off YouTube. For the last 2 months, my son has been coming into my room anywhere from 9 to 11 o'clock at night, and he's crying, and he gives me a hug, and when I ask him what's wrong, he says, "I just love you." And then he goes back to bed. It was happening like once or twice a week. It's always so weird. So I started thinking that he was sleepwalking because it's just out of Troy's character. But it's been happening like once or twice a week for like the last 2 months. This morning, we're eating breakfast, and he looks over at me and he says, "Mommy, can you happy?" And I'm like, "You what? What?" And he said, "Can you happy so I don't have to you?" What? I said, "You want me to?" And he said, "No, I don't, but the show said that you have to happy." And I'm like, "What show?" And he said, "The Dragon Show." The what? Now, he watches stuff like this. This is Netflix. I'm like, "What Dragon Show? On what?" Because I'm trying to pull it up. And he said, "On YouTube." Now, he's not supposed to be watching YouTube because the last time that he was allowed to watch YouTube Kids, there was a cartoon of a little boy that looks like Caillou that was telling my son to go run and jump in front of cars and get all of his friends to run and jump in front of the cars driving down the street. And so once I realized that that cartoon was legit telling him to go get his friends and they all wait until a car is coming and then they run in front of the car, I was like, "Oh no, you guys are done." And nobody has been allowed to watch YouTube since. So I didn't even know that they had access to YouTube on their TVs, their Roku TVs. I thought they only had Netflix, Hulu, and then like normal TV. But nope, he's been sneaking and watching YouTube, and whatever cartoon he's watching about dragons is telling him me. And instead of doing what they're saying, he comes in the room crying and hugs me and is just like, "I just love you." That is insane. Pay attention to what your kids are watching, because there are really sickos out there. That is crazy.
Yeah, honestly, that is insane. So whatever show that is, YouTube definitely needs to ban. But I would never say stop watching YouTube. YouTube is the superior social media out of all of them, in my opinion. If anything, I feel like TikTok could be worse. I feel like a kid could find way worse shit on TikTok compared to YouTube. Like, trust me, like TikTok, you could find some crazy stuff, and Instagram too. But that is crazy. I really wonder what do you say, the Dragon Show? I mean, if you guys know what the Dragon Show is, put it down in the comments, because that is very interesting why they would tell kids to do stuff like that.
Thank you all for watching this here video.